Good afternoon, Mercer County. This is John Gertica, host of Mercer Local Influencers. Today, my guest is Aubrey Haines. Aubrey is a friend and business associate who has been in the market for some time. We look forward to the story that he has to tell us about his lifespan of work and his continued work in the area. Aubrey, welcome to the show.
Thanks, John. Glad to be here.
It's good to have you here, Aubrey. We've been talking for some time now about getting together and mapping out all the things that you've been involved with over the years. And you reminded me of a word that I hadn't heard in a while, and that's etymomia.
Eudaimonium.
Eudaimonium.
Which is an Aristotelian concept, which is wanting the best for the other person that is such a good friend that you actually want them to have the ideal experience. And by them being as happy as they can be, that translates into happiness for you.
And that's been a theme that's run throughout your life. You are from New Jersey originally. You were part of a family that dates back to the 17th century in New Jersey.
Yeah, our family, actually John Haines was the first Haines. Richard Haines, who was his father, died in the boat ride over to the States in the 1680s. I think it was 1684. So John Haines was the first member of my family to arrive here. Quakers from England. Came over, actually the original founder of the Quaker religion, George Fox, came over a few years before that, in the 1660s. And then many members of the flock came over to the States, many of them who were in some way related to or had done business with William Penn. So our family came over, apparently my ancestors harbored Charles I from Oliver Cromwell, according to legend. My father went over to England and traced this back and found out. And the English crown killed two birds with one stone. They got rid of Quakers, who had this crazy philosophy that all men were created equal, and that's not good for kings. And they rewarded the family for harboring his father, while Oliver Cromwell had taken over the government.
So 11 generations later, as you're growing up on a farm in Elmer, New Jersey. And that farm is the Larchmont Orchards. Well,
the farm right now is in Elmer, but when I was growing up, we were in where my house is now, in Mount Laurel. So my father had bought land in Mount Laurel for $500 an acre in 1960. In 1969, he's offered $5,000 an acre because 295 and the Turnpike were coming through, and so he kind of had no choice but to take that because it was such a high number, and he could buy land for a quarter of that price in Salem County down in Elmer. So what was a 500-acre farm between my grandfather, my father, and my great aunt. My brother now has a farm of 1,200 acres, really vastly grown the peach orchards down in Salem and Cumberland counties.
And one of the larger producers throughout the country?
The largest in New Jersey. We produce about half the crop, and we supply a lot of the local farm markets. You probably don't even know it, but when you go to a local farm market here in Mercer County, you're probably eating our peaches.
Well, I know they're the best that I've had, and I appreciate one spring I went down with you.
Yeah, right.
And we timed it right. It was a perfect visit to the orchard
during the blossom. That was cool.
And it was. And you labored on the farm as a kid. So at 11, 12, you're out there picking, cropping.
I have, Social Security sends you a statement showing your income through time. Yeah, I have Social Security income from when I was 11 years old because their child labor laws do not apply to farming families, right? So if you're a farmer, you can have your kids work for as much as they can do. And that's what all of our family members did. We worked our butts off all summer long, 7 days a week through my teen years. And then if we had a good peach crop, we'd go down to the Caribbean for a couple weeks in the winter. So it was a pretty good deal, actually.
And it was some advice from a family friend that really triggered that. You had the work ethic; it was built in, but really told you that these are the important things in life.
Yeah.
And they were family and friends and your
community.
Work. And the work community then.
Yeah. So, I had worked 7 days a week, up to 94 hours one week on the farm, used to working hard. But in for school, I went to George School, boarding student for 4 years, in Tufts University, and then junior year abroad at London School of Economics. So my brother had established himself on the farm. It kind of felt like that was his domain, so I decided to do something different and get into real estate. And one of my dad's friends was a gentleman by the name of Tom Weitzel, Weitzel Enterprises in South Jersey. And so I met with Tom not as an interview as much as here's what the real estate business is like and here's what you're getting yourself into. And but he was really, what he said really stuck with me, and that is that your life is like a three-legged stool. And if you pull any one of those legs out, the stool falls over. And the family, business, and community. So from the beginning, I got involved in the Rotary Club and then the Princeton Chamber, and have been involved with the Thomas Edison State University Foundation, and now with the Princeton Business Partnership. So a lot of community service.
So the community is important, and we'll talk about your transition to finding this area. But in between, you did your internship in Philadelphia, I believe, right out of college?
I started at Jackson Cross Company, actually, yeah. My first day at work was August of 1986, and I brought a box of peaches into the office. And from then on, my nickname among the more jovial, joking comrades there was Peaches. That was what they called me. And but I really enjoyed working there. I started out at a base salary that was $14,000 a year, which even then was not a lot of money. But you know, the idea was that I'd have the opportunity to potentially get into a commission sales position, commercial real estate with one of the top firms in the whole East Coast, and that's what I did. And that really worked out well for me because I basically doubled my income every year for the next 5 years, and did really well. But it was just a great place to get started because I met a lot of people who I still am friends with and I still work with in many ways, who are not just commercial real estate brokers, industrial brokers, but they are developers, investors, financiers, and all aspects of the business. So there's a really deep base of alumni from Jackson Cross throughout the Philadelphia and Princeton area.
And beyond, because I think one of your friends is it Hans?
Hans, our partner, is Dutch. Yeah.
And you told me the story about how you introduced him to some cultural experiences in Philadelphia, and he you.
Yeah. So Hans van Tatvijk, in 1987, my second year, he came over as an intern. Working, he was MBA candidate at Henley in the UK, and one of the requirements of this program is that you spend time actually working in the industry. So he contacted Charlie Seymour at Jackson Cross, the chairman, and Charlie said, yes, of course we have a position for you in the appraisal department. So my uncle, who was also at Jackson Cross, although we had different names, so nobody knew that he was my uncle because we didn't want any nepotism. But right. Uncle Bob said, hey, there's this kid, Hans, you should meet. I said, great. So I met Hans, and Hans said, hey, I've got tickets to the Philadelphia Orchestra tonight. You want to go? And I was a rock and roll fan, but I said, sure, I'll go to the Philadelphia Orchestra. So I went, and I loved it. I thought, wow, this is really cool. It's something new I had never experienced before. So a week or two later, I had tickets to an event, and I said, hey, Hans, cultural exchange, how about if we go to the World Wrestling Federation at the Spectrum? And of course, Hans was thrilled at the opportunity to really see America at its best or worst, however you define it. But yeah, it was a slice
of life in Philadelphia.
That's right. Yeah, exactly.
Well, and you achieved some honors there. You were
yeah. I brought a little prop with me today. So Jackson Cross had many honors that it bestowed upon the different brokers. You know, as the top industrial broker, top office broker. I got Rookie of the Year in 1988, and you can't really see it because it's pretty well worn. But Rookie of the Year was pretty cool. It was something that that I worked hard for, because I really liked the people I was working with, and I wanted to do well there. And it was just a fun group, and that was awesome to receive that award. And that's why so many years later I still have the prop.
Well, well achieved and well earned.
Thanks.
And it gave you a taste not only for the industry, but the recognition that comes and the friendships that come within.
Yeah.
You found your way up to this area, and there was a deal that over in Newtown that you helped put together that really fueled that continuum and really helped land you here in this marketplace.
Well, they suggested that I work in southern New Jersey, where our family was very well established, and my dad was in the state senate at the time, and I thought, you know what, that's probably not a good combination of me being a state senator's son, working in a territory where there are a lot of people that want to peddle influence with my dad. My dad would never have put up with any of that, and I thought, you know what, I said to the guys at Jackson Cross, I said, you're starting an office in Princeton? They said, yeah. I said, I'd rather go to Princeton. Nobody knew the Haines name up here.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how I got started up here. And we did a number of brokerage assignments where, actually in the early 90s, it was the worst real estate recession of my career.
Right.
There was the Resolution Trust Corporation had taken back hundreds of office properties because there was wild overdevelopment. And so we worked on a number of assignments with entities that had taken back properties and helped to lease up properties, a lot of tenant rep business. But the deal you're referring to was we had secured a relationship with Lockheed Martin Corporation. Mm-hmm. And they were closing their Sunnyvale, actually they were closing East Windsor and King of Prussia facilities, satellite manufacturing facilities. And they were moving their operations mostly to Sunnyvale, California. But they wanted to retain a certain brain trust, people that were their top employees. So they decided to do a consolidation of the two East Windsor and King of Prussia facilities. And Newtown looked like the logical location. Didn't hurt that 7 out of the 8 top executives lived in Newtown. So we negotiated with Holy Family College, mm-hmm. Sister Francesca, which I have to say she was the toughest negotiator I ever dealt with. Super sweet, very nice, but she got a great deal for Holy Family College, and Lockheed got a good deal too. They got a great site, and we negotiated state, local incentives, and the 470,000 square foot satellite manufacturing facility was born from that deal, and it was, I was living in Newtown at the time, and it was really quite an honor to be part of that process and part of that team.
A large deal, lots of employees were
1,200 employees, yeah. And actually what happened was, right after that deal was negotiated, I went to a political fundraiser at my dad's house, mm-hmm. Where Governor Whitman pulled up in her limo, and she got out of the car, and I'm standing with my father, and hi, Governor, hi, meet my son. He just moved 1,200 jobs to Newtown. And which, it was a little unfair because it wasn't my decision. I just provided the client with the information, but, that was his introduction to me to meet the governor.
So no politic aspirations for you, all business related, and that was a good piece of business to start.
Yeah.
I'd like to take a break right now.
Okay.
And we'll come back and talk about your business development here in the Mercer County area and Princeton on a continued basis. But for now, we'll take a short break for a message from our producing sponsor, Tom McManaman at Stimulus Brands. We'll be back in a minute.